Yo, is this the cold-blooded conspiracy finally out in the open? For years, the street's been whispering about King Von's tragic death. Questions hanging heavy in the air like smoke. Now brand new evidence popping up, and it's hitting harder than a diss track. The big question, did Lil Durk actually orchestrate the hit? We breaking it all down, the accusations, the timeline, and the details that got the whole game shook. See, the silence after Von's death was never normal. They tried to sell it like just another gang retaliation outside a hookah lounge in Atlanta. Case closed. But nah, people felt the weight. Whispers turned to theories. Theories turned to doubts. Too many contradictions. Too many holes in that official story. Word was, a member of Durk's crew pulled the trigger. Authorities framed it as a street beef gone wrong, a simple retaliation. But the speed at which that story got wrapped up? Sketchy. Investigators barely scratched the surface, and fans ain't buying it. 'Cause let's keep it real, the bond between Durk and Von wasn't all smiles and studio vibes. They came up together, Chicago roots tight, collaborations on fire. But behind the scenes? Tension. Disputes over money, creative control, who's really the star? Resentment brewing under the surface. What looked like brotherhood was laced with rivalry. Over time, that love-hate vibe only grew colder. They stopped linking up, public appearances faded, and rumors of a rift spread like wildfire. People started saying the brotherhood was fractured beyond repair. And now, new witness accounts are adding gasoline to that fire. Folks who kept quiet before are finally talking. And what they say? This wasn't no heated fight. This was chess, not checkers. They claim Durk's crew was already positioned, moving with precision, like they came ready for blood. That paints a whole new picture, not a gang clash, but a setup masked as street violence. Even wilder, whispers about money moving behind the scenes. Testimony dropping that someone actually paid for the hit, with claims that Otavani lined it up. Then you got this wild angle. Queso's dad supposedly spilling tea in exchange for lighter time, putting pieces together that make the whole timeline look shady. The way the case got closed so quick. Suspicious as hell. Bottom line, what we're seeing now ain't just beef, it's potentially industry-level conspiracy. A plot with more layers than the mixtapes these dudes drop. And the streets ain't staying silent anymore. Yo, listen up. The streets still ain't sleeping on King Von's death, 'cause the so-called official story don't add up. Only a couple arrests, no hard evidence, and the case wrapped up quicker than a mixtape drop. Fans and family? Heated. Frustrated. Suspicious. And now, whispers say the real motive was money and power. See, Von's star was rising fast. Charts, streams, street clout. And some folks close to the scene claim Lil Durk saw that as a threat. Chicago ain't big enough for two kings, right? The ugly possibility is that someone moved to silence Von, keeping the crown locked tight on Durk's head. That's not beef, that's chess. Ruthless, cold, industry-level competition. The story now sounding darker than ever. Talk of a carefully built alibi, Durk distanced while his inner circle took the heat. Witnesses say it wasn't random, it was calculated. Associates moving like pieces on a board, executing a deadly plan, keeping Durk clean while doing the dirty work. That kind of orchestration ain't street heat, that's strategy. And piece by piece, the facade's crumbling. Street gossip turning into sworn statements. Witnesses spilling what they saw. Every new detail making it harder to swallow the random shootout narrative. The weight of Von's death ain't just about one man, it's about justice, about truth in an industry that thrives on secrecy. Now whispers are louder, they've turned into direct accusations. Claims of betrayal, power plays, cold-blooded precision. The name at the center? Lil Durk. Every fragmented detail, every rumor on Reddit, every hood conversation, they all circle back to him. The picture they paint? Not spur-of-the-moment violence, but a premeditated execution. And here's the wildest part. Talk on the block is this ain't done. Some folks predict a civil war brewing between Durk's crew and O'Block Von's people. Maybe in 2025, maybe 2026, depending on how Durk's legal cases play out. Imagine that, not just a murder mystery, but the spark for a full-on war in Chicago rap. Reports say Durk kept himself at arm's length, sending soldiers instead of stepping in himself. A move that screams deniability, but also screams cold calculation. If true, that means the heart of this wasn't rage, it was power, strategy, and betrayal. A setup masked as gang violence, with Von caught in the crossfire of ambition. This ain't just about hip-hop beef anymore. It's about what happens when loyalty breaks, when money and power turn friends into enemies. And now? The streets want answers. Yo, the story getting darker. The Cats said to pull this off? They ain't no random hitters. These are Lil Durk's day ones, loyal soldiers, men who owe him everything, the type to ride without questions, no hesitation, no conscience. Not wielding on impulse, but hand-picked tools, moving like chess pieces in a deadly game. What's bone-chillin'? The way they allegedly played their role with zero remorse. Cold faces, cold moves. First-hand witnesses, people close enough to see the smoke before it burned, are finally talking. But they whisper in shadows, anonymous, scared of retaliation. And what they're saying? It ain't the cleaned-up police version, nah. It's a raw picture, informants, deception, and a system built to bury the truth to protect the top dogs in the Chi-Town rap scene. And those involved? They ain't outsiders. They're part of Durk's circle, the ones closest to him, the ones who knew his operations inside out. That don't look like coincidence. That looks like organization. Violence turned into business strategy. A blueprint for keeping the crown. Theories keep spinning. Maybe it was straight-up rivalry, Von's rising momentum making Durk feel cornered. Maybe it was bigger, power plays inside the industry, control of the bag, who runs Chicago rap. Von was glowing up, eclipsing Durk in some ways, and to certain people, that shine looked dangerous. So they clipped it, strategic, surgical, calculated. But even with whispers stacking and stories dropping, the official investigation? Dry. Weak. No solid answers. Fans believe it's bigger than cops not caring. They think powerful hands are covering tracks, silencing voices, protecting reputations. And every gap in the truth just fuels the fire. And then comes the wildest allegation yet. Talk on the block that Lil Tim got paid for the hit. Some say the bag dropped in April, months before Von got taken out in November. One dude even claims, "We went with him to get the bag." That's fact. If that's real, it ain't no random street beef. That's a straight-up contract kill. The streets ain't letting this rest. Fans want justice, they want transparency, and they ain't buying the sanitized cover-up no more. The question now, who gon' talk, and who gon' keep burying the truth? The hope still burns, man, that one day a real unbiased investigation gon' crack this case wide open. No politics, no favors, no cover-ups. Just raw truth, so King Von's family and fans finally get that closure they've been waiting on. For that to happen, the voices of witnesses, the people who saw it, who know what went down, gotta be protected. 'Cause right now, too many scared to talk, too many silenced by fear. The quest ain't just about one man's death. It's bigger. It's about justice, transparency, and protecting the integrity of hip-hop itself. Von's voice still echoes through the culture, demanding answers, demanding a reckoning. Those echoes ain't fading, they fuelin' the fight. From day one, November 29, 2020, the whispers started. Not just random violence, nah, people were saying it smelled like a hit. Tensions were already high in Chicago, rivalries already ugly. At first, the industry brushed it off as typical rap beef talk. But those whispers grew louder, sharper, turning into flat-out accusations. 'Cause the truth is, pieces of the puzzle been missing. Held back. Hidden. The official narrative? Too neat. Too clean. Police ran the case by the book. But where was the urgency? Where was the push to dig into the tangled web of rivalries, egos, and money that shaped Von's world? They barely touched the idea that it could have been a targeted assassination. And that silence? That hesitation? It spoke louder than their reports. Conflicting testimonies, locked lips, missing transparency, it all bred more suspicion. Fans started seeing a pattern. Somebody powerful wanted the truth buried. And the streets knew exactly where to point, at the icy rivalry between King Von and Lil Durk. This wasn't just two rappers trading bars. Nah, this was personal. This was ego, territory, ambition. A cold animosity that went way past music. Yeah, Durk had put Von on. Interviews, features, studios, producers. To the outside, it looked like brotherhood. But behind the curtain? The rivalry was real, and it was growing darker. Diss tracks, social media smoke, tension you could feel in the air. Violence wasn't just possible in that climate, it was inevitable. And when Vaughn was gunned down, the official story played it safe. 2 crews, chaotic shootout, multiple casualties. But the public started feeling different. They smelled something off. And the shift wasn't triggered by new proof, it was driven by doubt, by the sense that the truth was being hidden right in plain sight. As time kept moving, the official story started falling apart. Witnesses who first stayed quiet began speaking up, some in the shadows, some dropping info anonymous. And what they revealed? Holes in the police version, contradictions everywhere, and a vibe that this whole thing was orchestrated, not accidental. These weren't casual bystanders. These were people who felt it in their gut to tell the truth, driven by conscience and a sense that King Von deserved justice. They painted a picture of precision. Vaughn was targeted, not caught in crossfire. It felt planned, lined up, executed with intent. And the suspicion on Lil Durk didn't just appear out of nowhere. It came from layers, their feud, the eyewitness accounts, and the fact that certain players seemed untouchable, shielded from scrutiny. That don't scream coincidence. That screams cover-up. Then came the money whispers. Talk of a bag dropped. A contracted hit. That's not just beef. That's business, cold and transactional. And if true, it means somebody had motive, money, and muscle, and they used all 3 to erase a rival. Meanwhile, Durk stayed silent. No clean denial, no clarity. Maybe his lawyers told him to keep his mouth shut, but the longer the silence, the louder the suspicion. Fans read it like guilt. Social media tore into it. The industry tried to bury it, but Vaughn's fanbase? Nah. They kept the pressure alive, refusing to let his story die. This ain't just about one death. It's about a system. A culture of silence, intimidation, and manipulation that lets this kind of violence thrive. The investigation gotta stop playing safe. It needs to chase every lead, dig through every motive, no matter whose name gets dragged. Justice ain't just finding the shooter. It's exposing the environment, the people, and the power moves that made it happen. And now? Whispers of protective orders, talk that someone close might even be snitching, talking deals, trading secrets for safety. Nobody knows for sure, but the rumors alone keep the fire lit. The streets won't rest. Vaughn's fans won't rest. The demand for truth keeps growing. The industry can try to cloak it in shadows, but the whispers keep rising, louder every day. And behind it all, one thing remains unshaken: the fight to make sure King Von's name don't fade, and his story don't get buried beneath lies. 4 years, King Von's death been wrapped in fog, rumors, contradictions, half-stories. Felt like one of them tragedies destined to stay unsolved forever. But now, a new wave of info's rising up, and it's threatening to crush that fake image of loyalty and brotherhood the industry tried to sell. The real question ain't just who pulled the trigger, it's who set it all up. And the streets pointing that cold finger at Lil Durk, saying it was no accident, but a calculated betrayal, born from years of rivalry and hunger for power. Official reports painted chaos, rival crews shooting in Atlanta, November 28, 2020. Vaughn caught in the crossfire, gone too soon. Case closed as gang violence. But even then, people weren't buying it. The story felt thin. Too neat. Too convenient. And the silence from big names? That just made the suspicion louder. 'Cause justice ain't just about finding the shooter. It's about digging into the motives, the ego, the money moves, the pressure cookers behind the curtains. Hip-hop been running on a system where loyalty is paper-thin, power is currency, and human lives? Just chips in the game. Vaughn's death exposed that ugly underbelly. The demand's clear, witnesses need to be protected. Voices gotta be heard, not shut down by fear or intimidation. 'Cause this fight ain't just for Vaughn. It's for the culture. For every artist coming up in a world where ambition too often turns deadly. Truth gotta shine, even if it burns reputations to the ground. And the whispers only got darker. Allegations of backdoor moves. People say Durk played chess with Vaughn's life, using intermediaries to arrange a hit. Not spur-of-the-moment violence, but a carefully mapped plan. Vaughn's rise was too fast, too hot, too threatening, to keen attention, money, and power. That pressure made Vaughn a target. The accusation's heavy, that a respected figure at the top would backdoor his own brother-in-arms. But the evidence stackin' ain't lettin' it die. And the silence from Durk's circle? It don't clear him. It makes the whispers louder. The hardest part? Breakin' the wall of fear. Informants scared, witnesses stayin' low, too much intimidation in the air. But still, Von's people, Von's fans, they ain't lettin' it fade. The pursuit of truth keeps going. Unstoppable. Unwavering. Because deep down, everyone knows, King Von deserves the Real story, not the industry's cover-up. The voices of those who saw it all, the ones holding the real truth, they gotta be heard and protected. No cap, the danger is real. Retaliation out here ain't a maybe, it's a guarantee. So if somebody brave enough to speak, it's on us, on the system, on the culture, to shield them. That's the only way truth can survive. 'Cause justice ain't just about courage, it's about protecting the ones who risk it all to bring the facts out. These allegations? They stretch way past Von's death. This is a test for the hip-hop community. Can we look in the mirror, confront the darkness behind the fame and money? Or we just gon' keep letting silence, cover-ups, and loyalty masks fuel more bloodshed? The industry built this fake wall of brotherhood. But Von's case rips it down. It's a call for transparency, accountability. For telling the truth even when it's ugly. 'Cause Von don't deserve a half story. He deserves the full account of who lined him up, who pulled the strings, who decided his life was expendable in the name of power. That's the real chase, not just the shooter, but the architect, the mastermind. And until that's clear, the pursuit of truth ain't stoppin'. The fans won't let Von's name fade. His people won't stop demanding answers. And now the streets buzzin' even harder. Talk of indictments, charges stacking like verses on a mixtape. Conspiracy to commit murder. Accessory to murder. Firearms, tampering, gang-related charges. The whole book thrown down. And the names tied up in this? Too close to Durk and Von to ignore. Friends, family ties, cousins. The lines are blurry, but the connections? Solid. It just shows how messy, how deep this web runs. It ain't random. It's personal. And that's exactly why the whispers turned into a storm. The truth might be dangerous, but the demand for it? Stronger.